Today we are talking about the massive explosion of Chinese YouTubers using the blocked YouTube platform and getting incredibly popular.
Yeah, DM, can you help us by hitting food? All right.
So what we see here is a channel.
Yeah.
Now, she doesn't publicly show how many subscribers she has, okay? But if you look at the actual amount of views that she has, and she is located in China, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
She has millions and millions of views on every single thing she does, right? Yeah. And what you can see here is actually she's based, I believe she's in Yunnan province in the countryside. Mm-hmm. And they use very professional cameras, high production quality. It's all kind of set up. It's beautiful. There's drone shots. There's absolutely great macro shots. And it's just so set up, right?
Absolutely.
And what I found out about this when I was actually looking into it is that there is a massive push now in Chinese soft power to get on Western media like YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and create these accounts and show how absolutely...
Sorry, stop you for 1 second. Sure. You will not find a girl that looks like that in the rural countryside of China. Absolutely not.
No.
You and I have both traveled around the rural countryside.
Sure.
It's not to say that you won't find pretty girls in the countryside, but someone of that age who looks like that is not there right now.
They've left.
Yes. Basically, if you have an attractive young woman in your family, they get sent to the cities to make money for the family. Mm-hmm. They do not stay and toil on the farm.
Right.
And people of that specific age, in their 20s, they're not on the farm.
No.
It's old people and children that you find in the rural areas. So not only the age group, but also an attractive young woman would not be, in that kind of setup. And if she's wearing makeup and stuff like that, there's no way she's wearing those rural clothes.
No.
There's like a wardrobe department that's been putting dirt on it for her and making her wear it. It's very disingenuous.
So anyway, the reason, no worries. The reason I brought this up is I was getting a lot of patrons that were asking me about the legitimacy of these because they really enjoyed watching them. This is not to discredit the kind of content. It's beautiful content.
It's great.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
I love it. And this, the thing is, there is beautiful countryside in China.
Of course, we've seen it.
There are beautiful traditions. There's amazing food.
Right.
So all of this stuff is theoretically legit. But if you were to see it in real life, it'd be completely different. We actually have a story, which, by the way, if you look at what's up on the screen now, that's tofu. Mm-hmm. And can I go into the story?
Go for it.
Okay. This is something that happened to us in real life. In fact, I'm going to look at the camera there. This is something that happened to us in real life, and it's kind of important that you'll hear about this. Now, there's this place, Jianshui, where they've got these beautiful, old wells. Mm-hmm. Now, this is supposed to be this beautiful, pure water, and these wells are hundreds of years old. And in the show, A Bite of China, which was put out on TV, which is, I think that was
that's the clip that
that's
showed,
the clip, okay. And they show the preparation of this tofu using this beautiful, pristine water.
Mm-hmm. That was the whole point.
That's the whole point, is the water is special.
Right.
And they make this tofu. And after that show, they got so popular that, people were ordering this tofu online through Taobao, and it just became a huge industry. The problem is, yes, it's beautifully shot. Yes, it looks amazing. Yes, the tofu itself was delicious. We ate it ourselves.
Yeah.
But when we went there and we went to the well that's being used, remember, we started to see all those people that had actual deformities everywhere.
Yeah, like missing hair, welts all over their skin, boils.
Yeah. And a guy who saw us with cameras pulled us aside and was like, "Hey, come follow us." It's kind of in our Conquering Southern China documentary.
There's a piece,
But we didn't really talk about it because we're always very much have to stand on this line where if we go over that line, it's going to cause a lot of trouble for us in China. He took us and showed us that basically just above the well, there's drainage ditches full of garbage.
Right.
All the sewage runoff from all the houses in the area run into the well. The well water is actually contaminated and disgusting, and it's causing people to become ill because everybody drinks it in that.
If you look at the well, it's impressive.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. But you just look just next to the well, and you see
sewage.
Filth, and it's above the well, so it obviously soaks in.
Yeah.
So because we started filming this, we actually ended up getting chased by bosses of the local tofu factories that were there.
We call them the tofu mafia.
Yeah, because they noticed us. So first of all, we had a guy come and threaten us. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. And then he went away to go and fetch all his, fetch all his fabulously terrible
fermented
cronies. These horrible guys. And they actually basically started to come and give us trouble, and we had to escape, and we got to our hotel. And they didn't know which hotel that we were staying in, but they were checking hotel to hotel to try and find out where foreigners were, and we got out of there really quickly.
Yeah, we left like immediately in the morning, right?
So basically, what this proves is it proves that these kind of shows are just a very big theatrical production.
Sure.
You know, it's not like most of it is just not true.
Sure.
You know?
Now, when I was going and doing my research for all this kind of stuff, I was going through and I was very impressed when I go to like Social Blade and stuff, how quickly some of these channels have grown. And I suspected kind of bots, paid bots and stuff, because that's rampant all over YouTube, right? But when I actually saw the amount of comments that were coming in, a lot of them were in Chinese, of course. But like I said, when I go back to people that were sending me messages on Patreon and stuff, they were like fascinated and like enraptured by these videos, right? And I told them, by all means, be fascinated by these videos. They're gorgeous, right?
Yes.
But you have to understand, and to go back to this whole demographic thing, that in the Chinese countryside, if you've graduated high school, that's the bare minimum, right? If you've graduated high school, you don't live in that village anymore. And when we go to villages, there are no young people. There are none left, right?
There are none.
If you're decent looking, you've already found work in the cities, right? Especially for a woman.
Yep.
And you're not going to stay at home and farm. I don't know any Chinese people that by choice stay on the farm at home, right?
Yeah.
So what is being portrayed is this massive fantasy that these hardworking, industrious, and it's always women, hardworking, industrious women are choosing to build their own little, perfectly meticulous cabin out in the Chinese forest, going out and harvesting all of these fresh greens that are growing in this beautiful jungle, right? Getting the water out of the river, which terrifies me, by the way, and then cooking everything on site or building a bamboo door and all this kind of stuff. And it's beautiful, but I can't help but be a little bit shocked that China's taken to YouTube so fervently and so hardcore, because these channels are dominating, absolutely dominating.
Okay, I got to add to this. Okay, first of all, there's nothing wrong with this picture that they paint, because like I said, this is an ideal image of China.
Right.
Okay, this is what China, they would like China to look like. This isn't what China looks like in real life. It absolutely isn't. But they are taking the real Chinese traditions and the real everything and making something out of it. But where I have my biggest problem is that they are using blocked social media to promote this kind of stuff. Now,
one narrative.
Yeah. It's one narrative. And you say there's explosive growth. Of course there is, because they have an incentive to make it grow. So then they will allow people to use VPNs to go and subscribe, and they will encourage that. And they will have actual, members of the government that are paid to do it.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, you wouldn't be able to use cameras like that unless you had people from the government on your team.
You're not allowed to go and film, because we've done our own documentaries. You cannot do that kind of thing without, permits and big red tape and stuff.
Even Chinese people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And they're using very professional cameras and stuff. So it's like a proper, state-run thing that's going on here. So you have to always bear that in mind. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. It doesn't mean that it's not beautifully shot and beautifully done. And as someone who works in media, I can really appreciate it.
Sure.
But for me, what gets me is the fact that they are using Western blocked illegal social media to do it. And you cannot do the same in China.
So if you
cannot, like if you're a Western company and like America wants to push like how amazing American farms are, how beautiful like farming in America or something, you cannot then go onto Chinese social media and go and put it out there without it getting blocked or some kind of crap happening.
Sure. Yeah. And it's just so targeted. Nobody's going to walk out of watching these beautiful countryside farming shows and say, you know what? China's the way to go. This is the country that we need to support. And I've learned so much about everything there.
Sorry, I have to bring this up. This is very important again. Speaking of that whole fantasy of how, the natural China, remember during Conquering Northern China. Now, Conquering Northern China, we shot this documentary. If you haven't seen it, there's, behind us is this flag with all the writing and stuff on it. Those are all the people that we, met along the way. We met this guy called Mr. Xu in Rongchen. Right?
Mr. Xu!
Yeah, such an amazing guy. If you haven't seen the documentary, it's great. Anyway, now this is a shot over the bow of BBC.
Okay, yeah.
BBC made a thing called Wild China, which is a very beautiful documentary about...
It's a bit dated now.
But it's all about like Chinese wildlife. And they filmed a scene... Actually, they got Mr. Xu to help set up the scene, and he was telling us all about it. Now, in the scene, you've got these sort of farmers on the beach digging in the sand and pulling out cockles, from, like this kind
That
of
was like the focus of that shot.
Yeah, and it's like the peasants, do this. Probably got David Attenborough.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was.
Maybe they fish for the cockles on the beach.
Right.
Anyway, Mr. Shu's like, no. We had to take the cockles that we farm in this like concrete pit over there, and we had to put them in the sand for that shot. So
Shots
we actually,
fired, BBC.
yeah. So they actually put the cockles in the sand and then filmed, and then like hired a bunch of randos off the street to come and like pull them out of the sand while BBC filmed them.
Do you remember when we were eating dinner and he told us that so nonchalantly? The thing that it first shocked me because BBC has a lot of integrity, at least internationally. I think a lot of people look at BBC like an unbiased source, right?
Sure.
But I mean, like the fact that we had gone and already shot one documentary and had not BS'd anything, everything was completely genuine. We might have to cut things out, but everything interaction was not set up, right? No. So when we heard this, us two little guys, that we're not setting things like this up. But the thing that impressed me the most was Mr. Shu so nonchalantly being like, yeah, that's how we shoot things, right? I've already done a documentary. He's all kind of
he's like showing off.
We'll pay him like 10 RMB. We'll go put the cockles out in the sand for you.
Yeah, because we actually asked him like where that was, because we were thinking about trying to like shoot a similar type thing, not to copy BBC, but we wanted to go and interview the people that did that.
Right.
And he was like, "Oh no, they don't exist."
Right.
We just hired some random people to pick up the.
And I think a narrative in the BBC documentary was also that that's one of their main foods, right? They only eat this kind of stuff, and we go around. We had to change the whole shot because we had that impression as well.
Sure.
And he's like, "No, we eat steamed buns."
Yeah. He makes those massive steamed buns.
So
and
we
stuff,
went on steamed bun runs with him instead. We changed everything because we're not fake.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I thought that was impressive.
Anyway, so that was just basically to add on top of the whole sort of fake, beautiful scenery thing. I thought that was really funny.
It is. Yeah. But anyway, expect an explosion like this. And if you're interested in commentary about China from a Chinese perspective, we were just so impressed that we found someone. There's probably other people out there, right? But, I don't want to make this a warning to anyone. Expect threats that we get, right? It's not pleasant work necessarily.
No, absolutely not. But the thing is, the nice thing about someone like Simon is he loves his country, but he's also realistic about what he likes and what he doesn't like.
Sure.
And that's something that's almost never seen in China, because you're not allowed to say anything that's not 100%.
I wish we had this clip, but I'll mention it, okay?
Right.
So when people get paid, and this is another big thing, right? If we're going to expand past this whole YouTube thing, what the Chinese government's doing is paying these countryside women to make things for Western media, soft power for Western media. But internally, they're getting more English teachers and white people, specifically white people in China, to make domestic propaganda.
Right.
So I'll go back to this. We don't have the clip, but remember that guy?
Yeah.
So he goes on this rant about how the West is so unfair and China is amazing and he loves China, it's his home and all this kind of stuff. Okay, whatever, typical Chinese propaganda. But there's a scene right in the middle where he goes, sure, China has its problems. And I got excited. I was like, okay, finally China's actually going to admit some of this stuff. It fades black. Yeah. And then it comes back and he's like, but I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are two brands of soft power media.
Yeah.
One is for the domestic Chinese audience, and they usually use foreigners, ironically.
Yeah.
I think they want Chinese people to think that Westerners think China is on the right path.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You think that's the program?
Yeah, 100%. It's just interesting, and one of the main reasons for us to do this podcast is just to shed light on all of this stuff and show people exactly what's going on and let them judge themselves.
Sure, I mean, just create a fair playing field, right?
Absolutely. They added that engine sound, Bam.
Check this out. He has like a full one, and then when you need to get in tight places, he's got a little one.
It looks pretty rubbish, though. I'm going to be honest. It looks... Oh, yeah, because it won't go under.
It won't go under. It floats too well. No one gives a shit.
They're just like... What even is going on here? It's like a fish.
It's like a parade float.
I think it's cool that's the steering wheel.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Now, see, wouldn't that be a beautiful scene if the sky wasn't disgusting? Yeah, look at you see what I mean? Surely there are better ways to wash your hair.
When I close my eyes, I can almost see it.